Hi everyone, it's Victor speaking, and I'm here today to discuss what Jupiter in Pisces might bring. So this video is going to be is going to have two parts. So today I'm going to be discussing with you the general description of Jupiter being in the sign of Pisces, and then in the next couple of days I will be posting Jupiter transiting each of your houses. So the reason why I wanted to do this video quite early, because I know how doozy 2020 was, right? And I think we have all waited for this moment for Jupiter to go into the sign of Pisces. And let us hope. And already kind of my pre-statement is very Pisces Jupiter energy, right? Because hope and faith is something to do with the Piscean Jupiterian energy. And let us hope that a better time is ahead of us, right? So Jupiter within a month will enter the sign of Pisces, where it is actually very strong. It has got rulership there. Now, Pisces is more a feminine side. So you might know, but each of the planet has got a feminine and a masculine energy, an expression. And Jupiter is representing the female side in the sign of Pisces. Now, the very first time when Jupiter is going to be entering, its rulership is going to be around the 14th, 15th of May, depending on where you are. And it's going to be remaining there till 29th of July. Then it's going to come back into the sign of Aquarius. And then at the end of the year, it's going to spend a whole year in the sign of Pisces. So we are talking about the most benefic planet of all, right? So we probably all expecting something miracles to happen. But I would like also to put it out there as a disclaimer. Jupiter only brings good things if you do something about it. If you are sitting on your laurels at home and waiting for some miracle to happen, then forget about it. Jupiter is not going to bring you those opportunities. So this is, on one hand, as I said, Jupiter represents a feminine and a masculine energy as well. And Pisces is more about the feminine energy, which is a little bit more introverted, right? It's a lot more passive. That's the yin and the yang needs to be brought into balance. And that's a little bit of a danger of having Jupiter here, because we forget about acting, we forget about becoming a go-getter. We might just want to be sleeping and being in the background, hiding behind something and so forth. By the way, Jupiter only will cover the first 2 degrees of Pisces, and then it will go retrograde, as I mentioned, on the 21st of June. And at the end of the July, it will ingress back into the sign of Aquarius. So why is this 2 month period important for us? Because we are going to be receiving a little bit of a glimpse into the future, right? By the way, the ingress charts are always very important, and it shows what the future's main topic will be. I would like you to stay till the end of the video, because I'm also going to be turning this video into a little bit of an educational program. The reason being is because I'm going to be talking about something called planetary nodes. And I'm not talking about the south node or the north node, or it is also called as Rahu and Ketu. We're going to be talking about actually the planet. Each planet has got their own nodes as well, and they are extremely important. So I looked at it this way. I mean, I looked at what I'm expecting from Jupiter and, Jupiter being in the sign of Pisces from the planetary node aspect as well. Because anyway, I'm going to come on to that. So just stay with me, because you might learn something exciting today. So, but first of all, let us have a look at what Jupiter represents in our chart. So it talks about higher learnings, It talks about expansion. Whatever it touches in your area, whatever it touches in your chart, it wants to expand that. It wants to provide some type of growth. So a little bit of a Santa Claus type of planet it is. It is bringing you gift, but it does depend on you how you use it. Right. And then when we look at what Pisces represents in our chart, well, this is all about evolving in the subconscious, becoming more compassionate. Maybe with this Jupiter, we want to be saving the planet, or we want to be having a pet, or we want to be saving animals and oceans. Um, Pisces represents anything which is artistic. So we might turn towards more artistic type of things, such as we might want to be having our exhibition, or we want to be producing videos and films about things. Maybe this is going to be the day when actually those film festivals are coming back into the picture, right? But another very important interpretation of Pisces is the spirituality. So I feel like there is going to be an increased need for spiritual practices and also a spiritual awareness. Pisces talks about things like donation. So you might be donating to a charitable cause, or somehow the charities are going to be thriving. But Jupiter always wants to be searching for the truth. And in Pisces, it has got the ability, but it is more about looking into what is going on behind the scene type of energy. So it's not about gathering the facts and data and then coming up with some ideas, but it's looking beyond as well what is going on. So I kind of call Jupiter in Pisces is like a spiritual awakening in a sense, even though there is no Uranian energy involved, which is the planet of awakening. But definitely there is going to be an increased need to be on a spiritual path. Probably, I know it's quite hard to imagine that we are going to be less material orientated, but somehow Jupiter in Pisces kind of gives us the opportunity to become less material focused, right? And somehow, as I mentioned, Jupiter in Pisces, which is very much about the subconscious matter, it does seek out for a peace of mind. And a little bit of a danger with having Jupiter here, because, Jupiter in Pisces seeks for a safe place. And sometimes we find a little bit of a segment of our brain which we can hide behind to. And this is going to be something to do with your inner demons and your fears as well. But I'm going to come on to that because a little bit later on, because actually the Black Moon Lilith is going to be changing sign alongside with Jupiter as well. So, and then straight away they're going to be squaring each other. So there is definitely something in the subconscious on the collective level, which we're going to have to bring onto the surface, right? As I mentioned, Pisces Jupiter is kind of acting like a archangel or a savior type. But you must remember that you can only be responsible for your own life. You can't help everyone. So you need to be, because Pisces has got boundaries issues. It doesn't really know, when to stop. So it wants to be generous, it wants to be helping, but it doesn't really know when to stop. Now, on a mundane level, I would like to mention that Pisces is something to do with hospitals and medical fields. So maybe what I can imagine is that the hospital workers, maybe there is going to be a donation given them by the nations or by people overall, or there is some type of moral support, or the morality is going to somehow grow, and we're going to be a lot more compassionate towards maybe just the segment of people overall. It doesn't mean that we're going to be going in the street and then, throwing money, on the pavement and people are rushing and then picking that up. Not really. But I feel like certain segment of people, especially in the medical fields, somehow will benefit the most from this Jupiter in Pisces energy. But another thing what Jupiter wants is to enjoy life to the fullest. And it's something to do with travels. It's something to do with experiments, adventure. So I am very hopeful that this Jupiter will allow us to open up some of the borders, right? But maybe with certain boundaries, because remember, Pisces does need to learn boundaries. So how I can imagine this is that they're going to open up the borders, maybe somewhere in the middle of May, and then all of a sudden, when it ingresses back into the sign of Aquarius, they're going to put some stop to it or restriction to it, because they're going to realize, hold on a minute, we are actually putting a little bit of, stuff onto the fire, and that could be a little bit dangerous. So, but going back, and also I would like to say, because I've heard this so many times from my clients, oh, Jupiter has gone through my second house, or Jupiter has gone through my seventh house. And where was the abundance, right? Where was the marriage partner coming into our picture? So you must remember that Jupiter emphasizes your current, or emphasizes and enlarging your current situation. So if you are on a lost track, then actually this Jupiter will bring you more losses, okay? Jupiter only is responsible for envisioning things, but if you are not working towards that, those blessings are not coming. So I'll give you an example. I had fallen into that trap before. I remember Jupiter going through my seventh house. By the way, where unfortunately Jupiter was in fall position, but I still expected some type of benefit. And don't get me wrong, it did bring me potential partners. The opportunities were there, but I didn't really deal with my fears, with my insecurities. So therefore, none of those relationships really manifested in a long run. They became more like a sexual encounters. Okay, so as I mentioned, just be careful about what you wish for, because Jupiter actually grants you those wishes, but it wants also something in return, right? Jupiter can be sometimes a little bit greedy, so be a little bit more systematic about it. And interestingly enough, I've seen recently a video where they put down a basket of apple for an African tribe, and they said whoever gets there first would get the whole basket. And they actually, the kids run there while holding each other's hands, and they got there together. And they asked them, why did you do that? If you won, then you would have received all of it. And they said, we would not exist without each other anyway. So what's the point in me winning? And this is such a Jupiter in Pisces energy. So I'm expecting somehow to collectively come together. As I mentioned, Pisces is more the feminine expression form of Jupiter. And, the feminine energies are more compassionate, more understanding, more intuitive as well. So let's hope that we're going to come together. Pisces is all about prayers. But and Jupiter is all about abundance. So yes, put your wishes into your prayers or do some visual exercises about it. This is the year or a couple of months when you must create a vision board for yourself, because actually, if you visualize that, actually it manifests as well, right? So it's very much about connection on a higher level to the divine power. Uh, but also, you know, especially those where Jupiter is going to go through your social houses, third, seventh, 11th, or even the fifth house, then we can easily fall in love, right? And we can easily can get hurt as well. And then when we get hurt, eventually we're going to go to that safe place, what I mentioned earlier. And what is that safe place for you, right? Is that alcohol, drugs, or you become obsessed with something? So maybe if that's the case, you're going to have to ask yourself the question, am I getting obsessed with the feeling of being loved? Or actually, do I really love that person? So it's a little bit of a crossroad on a personal level as well. Don't forget that Pisces rules things over like prison. So if you have got mental problems, then this Jupiter is going to magnify those. Especially if you have got Jupiter going to go through your 6th, 8th, and the 12th house. Make sure you see the light at the end of the tunnel. Okay, Jupiter is all about learning, studying, something to do with higher education. Okay, so it's very much about a higher connection to the higher wisdom as well. Um, you know, this Jupiter in Pisces really has got this type of world peace type of energy. And whenever I mention that word, miscongeniality comes to my mind, you know, which Sandra Bullock played on, yeah, she did. And, you know, she was a little bit violent and, um, you know, a little bit like hot-headed type of woman or character. But eventually she kind of learned that one of the ways I can solve issues is by love, right? And is by connecting with others. So another very Jupiter in Pisces energy. Now, I do believe that Pluto is still playing a big role. We know that Pluto has been trying to destroy all the system around us. And it has been going on for a couple of generations now. And I feel like Jupiter now tries to heal what has been damaged, but not kind of restoring it, but actually it wants us to think about how we can move on. Um, Jupiter in Pisces really talks about the divine timing. So wherever it's going to go through your chart, it does show that it's divine timing for something. And you can really reach the skies if you want to. So it's definitely about spiritual growth. It's like creating a spiritual hygiene, um, being more accepting and open-minded. You know, and with the water sign Jupiter, we have a stronger belief in higher power. We are most able to attract luck and rich life experiences through our intuition, imagination, and compassion. So helping those in needs boosts our own morale. More specifically, with Jupiter in Pisces, we attract the most good fortune when we are charitable, tender, devoted, compassionate, giving, and caring, somehow looking out for the underdog. So please, if you have got a chance to do something good, do so, because you will get it back from the universe. I remember my friend has got Jupiter in Pisces actually, and I did tell her once that if you look after universe will look after you as well. And she is a double Leo, right? She's a double Leo, so she's got Sun and Sun conjunct in her Leo rising sign. And she was like, "Oh, me, no." And then she started giving stuff for the homeless people, and all of a sudden, at one day, she just received a big basket of presents from coworkers because they saw her do that. And she was so, she was so overwhelmed by that. So it's very important that you are not just idealistic, because you can be less ambitious when Jupiter is in the sign of Pisces. You might be a little bit more motivated to give than receive. But the universal law is if you give, you receive it back. If I receive something, I have to give that back as well. That's, by the way, my motto with my Pisces rising sign, and it does work for me quite well. You're gonna have to see the bigger picture. There is gonna be definitely an expanded awareness and consciousness of the divine creativity and wisdom, and that's gonna somehow flow through us all. It sometimes might be about like having a trip into the fantasy realms where reality hides behind rainbows and alternative universes. You're gonna have to sometimes come out of that, have a great balance. This is gonna be the time when you need to learn to meditate, to listen to your gut feelings, to listen to your intuition. However, unfortunately, I do expect some devastation as well. And maybe it's going to be a situation where people need to pull together, and maybe we're going to be making a record donation to a cause. The reason why I say that, because we humans, we don't just click our fingers and become compassionate. Something needs to happen. In order for us to see the bigger picture, usually the small pictures need to be shattered. And I'm expecting some type of chaos as well, some type of issues to start within the medical fields, but maybe it's going to start getting sorted more like after the second part of June. But I also believe somehow we will see this outpouring of divine love for our fellow human beings over the next few months, right? Pisces rules over music industry and anything to do with concerts and hotel industry. So I feel like those are going to be possible for us in the summer, maybe from July, August onwards, with maybe September onwards, with some restrictions as well. Okay. Now, Pisces, in Pisces, there can be kind of a desire to lose ourselves in a search for the greater good, and the little problem again that Jupiter focuses more on the expansion of the self, right? Rather than trying to look for this collective truth. And the Pisces really tries to submerge the self, but it's more a collective energy. So, because let's put it out there, Jupiter's sometimes a little bit egoistic. It has got its egoistic side as well. So that's another little problem here, which which can occur with this type of energy. Now, while Jupiter transits in the mutable water sign of Pisces, we find that our outlook changes. We are more adaptable, we are more flexible. If we were extremely rigid, for instance, in the past, then we probably we will feel more open to ideas and to different philosophies. Maybe even we want to believe in God, or we want to believe in a higher power, or just a kind of like the ruler of the universe in one way or another. We might find it easier to believe that we are all in it together, and we work towards a greater good. Now, the downfall of this, because Pisces does rule over deception and lies, and the Jupiter ingress chart has got so much Gemini energy. I'm going to be honest, I feel like we're going to be fed crap. through social media. Sorry for my French, but I just want it to be putting out there, and we can easily be misled. Uh, Maybe there is going to be sometimes a little bit of a fake project going on as well to make us believe certain things. Okay. But this Jupiter in Pisces really aspire to change situations in order to bring some sense of purpose into our life as well. You know, it's not necessarily about financial profits. It's more about feeling better about ourselves based on our actions and beliefs. Um, we might feel a lot. We might feel that it's easier to meditate, for instance, or introspection is likely to be more popular within us. Or, as I said, artistic talents such as music, acting, painting, uh, creativity, spirituality, all those might be very favorable. And actually, if someone is just starting their studies, maybe I recommend doing those things. Okay. But again, a word of caution with Jupiter transit through Pisces is to stay alert to empathy overload, because we can be way too understanding and way too compassionate. And we can also become entirely drained to the point of physical exhaustion, by the demands and the expectations of others. So if you feel that this is the time to hide out, then do so, but don't do that continuously. Okay. Now, Jupiter also has got this spreading international type of energy. So, and as I mentioned, Pisces rules over not hygiene, but medical care. So I feel like the vaccine is going to be a lot more available to people, and things are going to be speeding up. And maybe because Jupiter rules over legislation, I'm expecting to have some type of legislation around it as well. Maybe not in a direct, but in an indirect way, right? Because Pisces happens behind the scenes. So what I'm really expecting is that countries are going to be having some type of agreements without us knowing about them. But as I mentioned, at the moment of the ingress of Jupiter into the Pisces, Jupiter straight away is going to start squaring Black Moon Lilith. And let's not forget that Jupiter rules at the moment over South Nodes, which is running through Sagittarius. So it's definitely going to be around travel matters. And that Black Moon Lilith is a little bit of an alarm for me. So if you don't know what a Black Moon Lilith is, then let me just give you a brief introduction on that. She is the pair of the moon, but it displays the dark part of the moon. So basically, moon is the key to happiness, and the Black Moon Lilith shows in your chart why I am not happy. What is the shadow for us? Lilith reflects the fearsome side of that moon. It is actually a fictitious point in the chart. The moon's furthest point from the Earth, and that's going to be the Lilith position. And I kind of call it as a blind spot, an invisible wallpaper, kind of a gateway between our lower and upper worlds. Now, Jupiter ingressing into the sign of Pisces, starting to square it, I feel like there is going to be kind of the humanitarians going to get divided into two groups. The very much of the fearsome ones and the very optimistic ones. And somehow the social media is going to divide us because of those very strong Gemini traits, what I was already speaking about. By the way, this Black Moon Lilith was the first wife of Adam. And she was very seductive. People were afraid of her because she was seductively dangerous woman who posed a threat to men at night. So it has got a little bit of a Plutonian and Neptunian quality to it. So it does talk about death and injuries. It does talk about the taboos and traumas and things we want to be escaping from. Somehow resentment, anger, rejection, and escapism belongs to her. So I'm expecting all those topics in one way or another being amplified by having Jupiter in Pisces. Sorry, I just had to have a drink. So somehow the Black Moon Lilith represents the missing and the underdeveloped area in our life. Now, yeah, so I hope that makes sense. And I believe that, as I said, it's going to be happening around traveling matters. Oh, by the way, I forgot to mention that Lilith is going to be moving into the sign of Gemini at the very same time, like Jupiter does into the sign of Pisces. You know, Black Moon Lilith in the spirit of Gemini, it's all about communication, the growth of our knowledge, the pursuit of understanding, and the human relationships will be very prominent. You know, so Lilith here says that if you don't share your knowledge, it's worthless. Knowing your own emotional depth is very crucial with that Lilith. Letting go of our fear that you have, or just gaining knowledge about what type of fears you've got, or what is destroying our environment. Why they don't pay attention to or appreciate their surroundings. So, for instance, I'm expecting a lot more like capital cleanups. Maybe there is going to be a lot more program out there. But the negative side of it is that there is a fear of not being able to express myself. So again, that Jupiter squaring Black Moon Lilith might actually increases the power of social media. So something to do with what you can say freely, what you can't say, freely. And some type of aggravation in foreign cultures also could be something with this Black Moon Lilith, right? We might have got a strong desire to know things. Now, Pisces rules anything which is like aliens and, well, not aliens, because actually that's a Uranian Aquarian quality, but any type of entities. So we might get informations about the UFOs. Maybe some information is gonna get leaked out. I'm expecting some type of things happening as well. But some of the unseen is definitely going to be seen. Okay. There is going to be plenty of unknowingness going on, but eventually it's going to get revealed for us, especially by the end of 2022. Now, Pisces does talk about surrendering and giving up on things, and Jupiter represents the low. So maybe I'm expecting some type of changes in the low departments also. Why is that? Because Pisces does talk about endings. So something will end surely. Maybe some of the restrictions, maybe some of the, disturbing mental illness type of related issues, what we are affected by currently. Okay. Now, but as I mentioned, I believe it's a calm before the storm. Okay. Bringing luck to what that house Jupiter governs is only an opportunity for you. But we must realize, though, is that the luck will only last if you do something about it. And I wanted to emphasize that for you, because that's the only way how you're going to manifest something on that Jupiter. Now, watch out for weight problems, because with this Jupiter, for instance, which rules over carbohydrates, it can really increase our weight. And Pisces, as I mentioned, does not really know, the boundaries, right? But also, maybe because Pisces indicates endings, it is a time to complete Jupiterian projects. Maybe it's about going back to school or finishing your education or to take a long distance trip that you had postponed or to make a connection with a long lost friend. It is actually a very good time to take spiritual or psychological courses in order to gain a better perspective on life. It favors all activities that are altruistic or raising money for a good cause or raising money for a group of people. Somehow, this Jupiter and Black Moon Lilith square talks about restoring something which is dead or dying already, because putting faith in that. And I believe it also carries plenty of soul searching with it as well. Okay, so, but there is always two sides to a coin. So let's not forget that the opposing sign from Jupiter is a Virgo. So we're going to be experiencing Virgo qualities happening as well. And Virgo is ruled by Mercury. So both Jupiter and Mercury are very much about wisdom, knowledge, and sharing, right? Because Mercury is the messenger of gods and the medicine as well. So I do believe the vaccination, medicine, or maybe they're going to be finding some type of cure to certain illnesses will be somehow a topic for us. Now, in my opinion, this Pisces Virgo axis are one of the most sensitive one of all. But at the same time, they could be very beneficial as well, because it does represent endings. So each is the ending of one half of the zodiac, right? Pisces is the seventh sign from Virgo, and likewise. So the first half of the zodiac is where we are creating our reality and our karma. And Virgo represents the point where you realize what you have done and created for yourself. Here you understand the problem, how it is created, and then you want to work it out in the best way. You're looking for the best methods to solve it. And at this point, you have had enough of creation and want to kind of rebalance everything that the Virgo represents in your chart. So the second half of the zodiac unfolds till you reach Pisces, where you finally reach completion. So basically, when Jupiter was transiting your Virgo, have a look at what was going on. And that was approximately 6-7 years ago. What was going on in your life? Because those those events can come to an end, right? But the reason why I wanted to talk to you about these polarities, because Pisces needs the qualities of Virgo to function, but Virgo needs or requires the traits from the Pisces as well to complete, to complete their personalities. So they are mirror images to each other. Okay. And what happens is that Virgo, which is Virgo and the Pisces axis combines the earth and the water, right? So we're talking about physical, tangible reality. That's very much the earthy side of things. And that's being infused with the spiritual reality, which is the water and the heaven representation. So one of the major questions with this Jupiter going into Pisces is that how are you going to bring the spirit down to the earth? How do you ground your spirituality? So those who have been, for instance, studying astrology since 2014, 15, then it might be giving you the chance to actually finish your studies and then eventually start something with it. Okay, great. So, and these are the 6 and the last axis of the zodiac. So Virgo is the sign of the Virgin goddess, and something to do with fertility. So, by the way, virgin means both male and female, because the ver part of it indicates male, and the jin part of it is the female energy. Now, Virgo rules something over digestive system. So we're gonna have to digest some situations in the world. But Virgo is very methodical. It delivers the messages. It takes the information and then processes it, and kind of like a filter, like a sieve, right? When you want to sieve your flour. So that's the type of Virgo energy. It kind of separates the good things and the bad things from each other. And then Pisces, Jupiter is kind of delivering it to a perfect place, right? This axis is all about being in service to others. So maybe we're going to have plenty of people who are signing up, for instance, to help in medical fields. Okay. Anyway, so let's move on a little bit. By the way, I forgot to mention that I keep saying that, Jupiter rules Pisces, and that's the traditional ruler. Neptune is the modern ruler. And let's not forget, both of the planets are going to be in the sign of Pisces. However, they are not going to be meeting till 2022, somewhere mid-year. So Pisces is all about miracles. Miracles could happen. We just need to have faith, being one with the universe, but ensuring we don't fall into the trap, as we tend to wear some type of rose-colored glasses. Now, in mundane way, Pisces rules over prisons, hospitals, homes for the aged people, philanthropic societies, secret societies, monasteries, and institutional religion. So those things I'm expecting to somehow be more present in our life. Okay, great. Now, let's just move on. So, at the Ingress chart, Moon, the North Node, Mercury, and also Venus will be in conjunction in Gemini. So, the North Node is something to do with our destiny. So I believe some type of messages about our destiny will be delivered in some way or another. It's going to be somehow this Jupiter ingression into the sign of Pisces a turning point. The reason why I say that, because recently, somewhere at the end of March, we had a Jupiter and the Mercury conjunction going on anyway. Why is that important? Because Jupiter rules currently the South Node, Mercury rules the North Node. So when there is a conjunction happening in the chart, it kind of starts a new karmic period. So basically, it talks about new beginnings. This is going to be reinforced by all those Gemini traits, as well as the Jupiter ingression itself. So I'm expecting something to be going on, but I'm going to explain even deeper what I mean by that. So most of us are very familiar with the lunar nodes. And everyone knows that they are talking about karma and something to do with the soul mission and something we need to leave behind. So the lunar nodes represents the intersection point between the orbit of the sun and the moon, as viewed from the Earth, right? Usually these two orbits are about 5 degrees apart, by the way. But when the sun and the moon align with these nodes, basically we have a solar or a lunar eclipse going on. Now, what many astrologers fail to notice or check, that every planet has got their own nodes. because every planet has got their own orbit as well. But these are not going to be completely overlapping the ecliptic, basically the sun's orbit. And therefore, will intersect the ecliptic at some point. So the south node or the north node of any planets are not necessarily going to be opposing each other, or they might be in the opposite sign, but they are not going to be opposing by degree. The planetary nodes are related to the sun's position through the sign, so they keep the same path every year, just like the sun actually. The yearly path of the planetary nodes will shift according to the precession of the equinoxes. Therefore, their yearly cycle will move 1 degree every 72 years, just like the fixed stars do, right? So anyway, maybe that's a little bit of too technical for you. What I wanted to talk to you about is that when it comes to the planetary nodes of the slow-moving planets, meaning from Jupiter to Pluto, they have got relatively quite a narrow range of movement. And that range only moves every 72 years. So all people on the planet have very similar nodal positions. The nodal positions of your planet only important if there is another planet conjunct into it. So I'll give you an example. For instance, everyone has their Pluto south node between 19 to 22 degree Capricorn. And the north node of the Pluto is somewhere between 19 to 22 Cancer. Now, these are very strong points in your chart if there is a planet there. Personally, I do have got Mercury there on 22 degree. So, and Mercury rules anything to do with my 7th house. So it could indicate some Plutonian type of relationships for me. But this is a little bit of a technical part, and I know it doesn't belong to the Jupiter presentation, but believe me, it does, because I'm going to come up with it eventually. By the way, I will be making a webinar about this at the beginning of June, about the planetary nodes, because it is so revealing. You will learn a lot from that. Okay, so the Jupiter south node at the ingress chart is actually at 20 degree of Capricorn. So remember, we had the Saturn Jupiter Pluto conjunction on the 12th of January on 21 degree. So actually that happened on the Jupiter's south node. By the way, the north node of Jupiter at the moment is on 3 degree Cancer. Now, Saturn and Pluto both left that Capricorn energy. So I'm expecting with this Jupiter to have some type of healing. Okay? But the healing is only going to start when those Gemini planets are going to be shifting into Cancer, which is going to be somewhere June, July time. But the full healing I'm expecting is when Jupiter is going to go on that 3 degree of Cancer. And that's going to be a good 4-5 years. Okay? That's when whatever we do now, I feel like that's when it's going to be unfolding truly. By the way, you're going to hear plenty of stories and tales about vaccination. There is going to be plenty of communication about it. There is going to be plenty of information you're going to have to digest. All planets which go through Jupiter's north node, because it's in the sign of Cancer, it's going to be about how we feel secure about ourselves. And one of the, I feel like I I feel like it's gonna take time. By the way, I do have got, for instance, personally, my lunar nodes, north node on 3 degree of Cancer. And that's where the Jupiter's north node is as well. So I know something big is shifting for me, something I'm going to have to learn about. Okay, so I hope this video has made sense for you. I know it might not be easy to digest these north node and south node of the planets. Unfortunately, I am not aware of the fact whether there is a program out there online free of charge which allows to calculate these programs. But I mean, these points in your chart. But any professional program such as Sirius or Kepler or even Solarfire is able to calculate it for you. And once I've got this webinar running, and if someone needs their chart, I'm going to be more than happy to share your chart with you with these points as well. But yes, it is something which is very exciting. So thank you very much for your attention. I know we've spoken a lot about spirituality, but that's one of the traits of Pisces Jupiterian energy. So if you like this video, please press like and ring the notification bell so you are attuned to the next house, which is going to be more personalized. So I'm going to be going through Jupiter in Pisces transiting each of the houses. I wanted to make this video for you so that you can prepare yourself where there is the give and take type of energy and where some of the healing needs to be done in order for you to gain some abundance, and not just the material one, but the spiritual abundance as well. So thank you, everyone, and have a blessed day. Bye-bye.